The Premier's calls for JobKeeper to be extended beyond March has the New South Wales government weighing in.
Yeah, Pete, the New South Wales Queensland stoush is continuing. Front page of the Daily Telegraph this morning. Anna's job stinker. New South Wales Treasurer Dominic Perrottet saying that Queensland is closed one day, then asks someone to pick up the tab the next. We, of course, know that this is no secret that there's been no love lost between the New South Wales and Queensland governments when it comes to border closures and hard restrictions. Dominic Perrottet was also quoted saying that Queensland's request shows how crucial it was to have proportionate and measured responses to outbreaks. We, of course, do know when the Premier has been involved in these stoushes, she's always said, well, I'll stick to Queensland and you stick to New South Wales. We know yesterday up in Cairns, the Premier urged the federal government again to extend JobKeeper payments, particularly for struggling tourism operators.
We really need the federal government to think about extending JobKeeper for these industries that are doing it tough. There's about, from memory, around 10,000 businesses here in the tropical north that are on JobKeeper at the moment, and that's going to have a huge impact on employment, especially when JobKeeper ends at the end of March.
Now, Pete, interesting to note, tourism operators say that in 2019, out of the $10 billion that came from New South Wales alone, around 30% of that, the $10 billion that came from tourism, 30% did come from New South Wales. So once those restrictions are lifted for Greater Sydney, that is good news for tourism operators. But speaking with the Premier a couple of weeks ago, she said in terms of areas like Cairns and Townsville, they are heavily reliant on international travel. I did speak to a couple of retailers up there a couple of weeks ago, and they said that they solely rely on Asian markets to really prop up that local industry. But when it comes to a local level, Pete, when we had that 3-day lockdown, the Premier really wouldn't be drawn on any more financial benefits for struggling businesses in Brisbane should there be another lockdown. One business owner I spoke to said he lost around $100,000 during that 3-day lockdown alone, but simply no financial aid in place for businesses like that. So no doubt Josh Frydenberg this morning, when he's on the program, won't be too responsive to Annastacia Palaszczuk's request.
No, given the fact that the federal government has kicked in a considerable amount of money to Queensland, far in excess of what the state government's been able to do at this stage. Yeah, you're right. Josh Frydenberg coming up next hour. Brendan will be able to talk to him about that and a few other issues as well. Brendan, thank you.